A few years ago, there were these signs that were trending. Black with capital white lettering, saying things like, "Home is where you are," and "Live the life you've imagined." At one point, I decided to make my own sign. Pretty crudely done, with some bad stencil work, but that sort of went with its message. It said, "Good enough." I sat at my desk in late March, grappling with what I wanted my students to gain from such a tricky semester, and that sign came to mind. I was teaching a course on the good life during a time that didn't feel that good. It seemed perhaps inappropriate. Was I asking my students to engage in thinking that was at best irrelevant to the current times, or at worst disrespectful to the hardships they faced? I sat there thinking about how just weeks ago we had all been together complaining about how Sam Mather 306 was too cozy a classroom. We didn't have any space. And now here I sat, alone, at my desk, thousands of miles from some of my students. Although perhaps it didn't feel any longer appropriate to muse about the good life, ignoring the troubles of our reality, it felt quite appropriate to consider how we might find good enough in our lives, how we might use positive psychology to create good enough ways of coping. Early on in Sam Mather 306, we were discussing the role of cognition in living a good life, how important our thought processes are for constructing our own realities. "There is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so," I quoted. All these weeks later, I asked my students to go back over the things that we'd learned back when we were all together, sharing space and wishing we had more of it. How do we make our new realities good enough for now? My students came up with many ideas. Exercising, getting out in nature, meditating, connecting with loved ones. And I felt grateful that they were finding their own ways of coping, of making things good enough. I was also creating my own good enough reality right along with them. And I was kicking myself for having gotten rid of that sign.